Your salary just doubled, so you upgraded your lifestyle with a new apartment, nicer car, and restaurant meals. Feels good, right? This comfortable new reality can quickly become a financial trap, one that catches even the wealthiest among us. This pattern explains why 78% of NFL players go broke within 2 years of retirement, despite their millions. We all experience this psychological pitfall with money, regardless of income level. The culprit? A fundamental economic concept called permanent income that shapes our spending decisions. Understanding this principle reveals why millionaire athletes go bankrupt and why you might feel broke despite earning good money. The solution is surprisingly straightforward. The money mirage. Why your paycheck disappears. Have you ever looked at your bank account after payday and wondered, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Just last month, I got a sweet little bonus at work. Nothing crazy, just a few $100. I was pumped. Finally, I could build up that emergency fund I've been talking about for years. But before I knew it, that money was gone. Between the celebration dinner and the shoes I deserved, my bonus evaporated like water in a leaky bucket. But what if even millionaires face the same problem? That's exactly what happens to a shocking 78% of NFL players who find themselves broke within just a few years of retirement. These guys earn more in a single season than most Americans will see in their entire lifetime. We're talking multi-million-dollar contracts that should set them up for generations. Yet somehow, these financial titans end up filing for bankruptcy, selling their championship rings, or moving back in with their parents. How is this even possible? How does someone blow through millions of dollars? These athletes are making $2 million, $5 million, sometimes $20 million per year. The average American household earns about $70,000 annually, which means some NFL stars make in a week what typical families earn in a year. With that kind of cash, financial problems should be impossible. But here's the thing, it's about how you think about money, not how much you make. This is where the permanent income hypothesis comes into play. Don't let the fancy economic term scare you. It's actually super simple. The PIH says that people base their spending habits on what they expect to earn over their lifetime, not just what they're earning right now. For most people, this works pretty well. Your income typically starts low when you're young, gradually increases, and then drops when you retire. It's a predictable curve, and your brain makes decent guesses about your future earnings. But for NFL players, their income curve looks completely different. A massive spike followed by a cliff. They go from earning nothing in college to millions overnight, and then back to earning very little when their short careers end. When a 22-year-old rookie signs a $10 million contract, his brain doesn't think, this is temporary money that needs to last me 60 years. Instead, it thinks, I'm rich now, and I'll stay rich forever. The same happens to regular folks too. Get a $5,000 raise? Your brain immediately plans ways to increase your spending. A nicer apartment, a car upgrade, better restaurants. Our brains struggle to separate temporary income from permanent income. When we get a financial boost, we adjust our lifestyle upward. The problem is we rarely adjust down when that money goes away. That new normal becomes the baseline, and anything less feels like deprivation. Consider quarterback Michael Vick, who filed for bankruptcy in 2008. He listed monthly expenses of $360,000. That's $4.3 million a year just to maintain his lifestyle, built during his peak earning years. But when those peak earnings disappeared, the spending habits remained. This miscalculation explains why lottery winners go broke at similar rates to NFL players. One day they're working at a warehouse, the next they're millionaires. Their brains can't process this as a one-time windfall. Instead, they start living like permanently wealthy people. You're probably making the same mistake right now. That tax refund, the bonus, the side hustle money. If you immediately upgraded your lifestyle based on temporary cash, you've fallen into the same trap that bankrupts millionaire athletes. What makes this worse is that 5 major financial blind spots affect both NFL superstars and everyday people. First, lifestyle inflation, the instant upgrade trap that makes raises disappear before they hit your account. Second, investment nightmares, those can't-miss opportunities that somehow always miss. Third, the family tax, financial pressure from friends and family that grows with every dollar you earn. Fourth, financial illiteracy, because somehow we decided that calculus was more important than teaching how money works. Fifth, the overconfidence effect, where success in one area makes you think you're a genius in all areas. Together, these blind spots create the perfect storm that turns millionaires into bankruptcy statistics. And they affect you just as much as NFL stars, just with fewer zeros in your bank account. Understanding the permanent income concept changes everything. That raise you just got, it's not actually $5,000 more to spend every year. It might be $1,000 or $2,000 more in true permanent income, with the rest needing to build wealth that sustains you when income drops. NFL players have an extreme version of this problem. Their true permanent income might be their career earnings divided by their entire adult life. A player who makes $10 million over a 5-year career has a permanent income of maybe $200,000 a year, assuming a 50-year adult life. But they spend like they'll always have millions coming in, not realizing their actual lifetime average income is much lower. Think about it. Have you spent your tax refund on something fun instead of saving it? Increased your spending after getting a raise? Treated bonuses as spending money rather than wealth-building opportunities? If so, you're making the same cognitive error as broke NFL stars, just with fewer zeros. Blind spot number 1, lifestyle inflation, the upgrade trap. That raise you just got, it's already gone, and you probably didn't even enjoy losing it. The moment most people's income increases, a strange psychological phenomenon kicks in that causes nearly everyone, from NFL rookies to office workers, to sabotage their own financial future in the exact same way. And this phenomenon has a name, lifestyle inflation. Think about what happens the moment an NFL rookie signs that multi-million-dollar contract. They quickly transform their living situation overnight. One day they're eating ramen noodles in a shared dorm room, and literally the next day, they're shopping for mansions and luxury cars. This pattern appears consistently among rookie athletes. They leap from modest accommodations to lavish homes with movie theaters and swimming pools shaped like team logos, filling garages with cars worth more than most people's houses. But before you roll your eyes at these spoiled athletes, take a hard look at your own behavior after your last raise or bonus. Did you immediately upgrade your apartment to that place with the granite countertops and in-unit washer/dryer? Did you trade in your reliable car for something with a higher monthly payment and that new car smell? Did your regular coffee order suddenly include an extra shot and that fancy milk alternative? Be honest, your spending probably increased almost immediately after your income did. The only difference between you and the NFL rookie is the number of zeros. What makes lifestyle inflation so dangerous is how quickly we normalize these new expenses. That fancy coffee becomes your standard order. That upgraded apartment becomes your baseline for acceptable housing. That new car payment becomes just another bill you have to pay each month. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Humans have this incredible ability to adapt to new circumstances, which is normally a good thing. But when it comes to luxury and comfort, this adaptation works against us financially. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. The tendency for humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive changes in their lives. It's like getting a new smartphone. You're thrilled with all the features for about 2 weeks, then it's just your phone. The excitement fades, but the expensive payment plan continues for years. That new luxury car might make you feel amazing initially, but the feeling fades while the car payment follows you for the next 5 years. Let me break down the math of lifestyle inflation, because the numbers are genuinely shocking. Let's say you get a $500 monthly raise, about $6,000 per year. Not life-changing, but definitely nice. Here's what happens to most people. Your rent or mortgage goes up by $200 because you decide you deserve a nicer place. Your car payment increases by $100 because you trade up for something newer. Your food budget expands by $100 because you start eating out more often or upgrading to premium grocery items. Your clothing budget grows by $50 because you start buying higher quality items. Your entertainment expenses increase by $50 because you subscribe to more streaming services and go out more often. Just like that, your entire $500 raise is gone, and you haven't saved a single penny. Now multiply this pattern over an entire career with multiple raises, and you can see why even people with good incomes often end up with little to show for it. For NFL players, this same pattern plays out with much bigger numbers. A rookie might go from a college stipend to a $2 million signing bonus, and suddenly they're supporting a lifestyle that requires every penny of their new income. The mansion, the cars, the clothes, the vacations, it all feels affordable in the moment. And technically, it is affordable, as long as those massive paychecks keep coming. But here's the cruel twist. For NFL players, those paychecks almost always stop coming much sooner than expected. The average NFL career lasts just 3.3 years. When the income suddenly disappears, all those affordable luxury purchases become financial anchors, dragging players down into financial ruin. This is especially dangerous for young professionals experiencing their first significant income jump. Many people transitioning from student life to their first full-time job suddenly find themselves with more money than they've ever had before. What were once considered luxuries, eating out regularly, living without roommates, upgrading electronics, quickly become necessities. A recent Deloitte study found that many young adults are taking on second jobs just to maintain their lifestyle, a clear sign that lifestyle inflation has pushed their expenses beyond what their primary income can support. Status signaling drives much of this spending behavior. We buy certain things not just for their utility, but for what they communicate about our success to others. This is as true for the office worker with the latest iPhone as it is for the NFL player with designer watches. The true danger of lifestyle inflation isn't just consuming your current income. It creates a permanently elevated cost of living that becomes increasingly difficult to maintain when your income inevitably fluctuates or decreases. Those luxury purchases that feel completely affordable during peak earning years become financial anchors during income changes. So what percentage of your income increases should actually go toward lifestyle improvements? If 100% is the wrong answer, and it definitely is, then what's the right approach to handling raises without letting lifestyle inflation consume your financial future? Blind spot number 2, investment nightmares, when trust costs millions. While lifestyle inflation might drain your paycheck, what truly devastates athletes and everyday investors alike is watching their hard-earned money evaporate overnight because they trusted the wrong person. The most dangerous threat to your financial future isn't what you're buying. It's who you're trusting with your investments. Here's a shocking reality. Having zero financial qualifications doesn't stop someone from calling themselves your investment advisor. For NFL players who suddenly come into millions, this lesson often comes too late and at an astronomical cost. What if the friend you trust with your finances turns out to be the very reason you lose your future? This question haunts countless athletes who became prime targets the moment they signed multi-million-dollar contracts. Imagine going from a college dorm room to having more money than you've ever seen, with absolutely no training on how to manage it. This sudden wealth creates the perfect storm. High earnings paired with minimal financial knowledge. And predators are watching, waiting to pounce. The vulnerability is painfully real. Many athletes come from modest backgrounds with little exposure to financial literacy. When they suddenly acquire massive wealth, they become magnets for investment schemes and unqualified advisors. Their financial inexperience combined with substantial income makes them ideal targets for exploitation. These athletes typically trust childhood friends, family members, or charismatic individuals rather than seasoned financial professionals with proper credentials. The personal connection becomes their only credential, and unfortunately, friendship is a terrible substitute for financial expertise. Dan Marino, the legendary quarterback, lost millions investing in Digital Domain, a company that produced the famous Tupac Shakur hologram before going bankrupt. Similarly, Curt Schilling lost an astounding $50 million creating his own video game company, 38 Studios, which also failed. These fortune-destroying mistakes mirror the same errors everyday investors make, just with more zeros attached. The psychological factors driving these poor investments are universal. There's the fear of missing out when everyone seems to be making money on the latest trend. There's social proof, the tendency to follow what others are doing, especially people we trust. And there's overconfidence, the belief that we know more than we actually do. For both NFL players and everyday investors, these vulnerabilities lead to trusting the wrong people with our financial futures. When an athlete loses millions, it makes headlines. When regular people lose their retirement savings to similar schemes, it rarely makes the news. To protect yourself from becoming another investment horror story, understand that the title financial advisor isn't regulated like doctor or lawyer. Anyone can print business cards and call themselves an advisor. Look for specific credentials like Certified Financial Planner, CFP, which requires extensive education, rigorous exams, and adherence to strict ethical standards. Before trusting someone with your money, check their credentials and disciplinary history with regulatory bodies like the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA. Watch for advisors motivated primarily by commission rather than your best interests. If someone pushes specific investment products that seem to benefit them more than you, that's a warning sign. Independent financial advisors who work on a fee-only basis often have fewer conflicts of interest. Diversification is crucial. Never put all your financial eggs in one basket, no matter how promising it seems. Spreading investments across different asset classes helps mitigate risk. If one investment fails, your entire financial future isn't destroyed. Regular review of your financial plans is essential. Investment strategies require ongoing attention and adjustment as your life circumstances and financial goals evolve. This proactive approach can help catch potential problems before they become financial disasters. When evaluating any investment opportunity, get a second opinion from someone who doesn't benefit from your decision to invest. For major investments, consider having legal counsel review contracts and agreements to prevent costly surprises. Restaurant ventures and real estate schemes are common traps for athletes. Restaurants have notoriously high failure rates even when run by experienced restaurateurs. Real estate can be legitimate, but many athletes end up in speculative deals promising unrealistic returns that often end in substantial losses. The most important lesson from these athletic financial disasters is that trust must be earned, not given. Financial advisors should be vetted as carefully as you would research a surgeon before an operation. The solution starts with education. Understanding basic investment principles allows you to ask the right questions and recognize warning signs. You don't need to become a financial expert, but you should know enough to spot potential problems. Remember, legitimate financial advisors welcome questions and clearly explain their recommendations in terms you understand. They focus on your long-term goals rather than promising quick riches. And they're transparent about how they're compensated for their services. Blind spot number 3, the family tax, when you can't say no. Financial advisors aren't the only ones with their hands in an athlete's pockets. There's an even more expensive drain that many NFL players face, one that comes from the people they love most. While saying no to questionable investments might be challenging, try saying no to your mom who raised you in poverty, or the uncle who drove you to every football practice when you couldn't afford a car. For NFL players from modest backgrounds, this creates a financial tsunami that can wash away millions faster than any bad investment. The numbers are staggering. Some NFL players end up financially supporting up to 30 different relatives and friends. That's essentially having an entire small company on your personal payroll, except these employees never actually work for you. This invisible burden creates what financial experts call a family tax that silently erodes even the most substantial NFL contracts. What makes this particularly challenging is the deep sense of obligation many players feel. Imagine growing up in a neighborhood where your community rallied around you. The barber who gave you free haircuts when your family couldn't afford them, the local businesses that sponsored your youth football team, the neighbors who believed in you when nobody else did. When you finally make it, the psychological pressure to give back is overwhelming. As wealth manager Humble Lucana, who manages around $500 million for clients in sports and entertainment, explains, there's a pressure that comes with being the African-American success story. You are some community's pride and joy, and that community has protected you. That community has given you free haircuts when you couldn't afford it. That community has sponsored your football teams, your basketball team. With this profound sense of gratitude, saying no feels like betrayal. This pressure translates into athletes buying homes for parents, grandparents, and siblings, each with ongoing expenses like property taxes and maintenance. Add to that vehicles for family members and can't-miss business ventures from relatives, restaurants, clothing lines, record labels, that often fail spectacularly, taking the player's money with them. While you might not be buying mansions for your extended family, this financial dynamic probably sounds familiar. Remember when your cousin asked to borrow $500 for car repairs, and you knew you'd never see that money again? Or when you couldn't bring yourself to refuse funding your brother's startup idea despite the obvious flaws in his business plan? These are scaled-down versions of the same psychological trap that ensnares NFL players. The math of supporting multiple people is brutal, even on a seven-figure salary. A player making $2 million annually who supports 10 people at $50,000 each loses $500,000 per year, 25% of their income, before addressing their own needs. Factor in taxes, agent fees, and personal expenses, and that seemingly massive NFL salary doesn't stretch nearly as far as you'd think. What makes this particularly challenging is that these aren't one-time expenses. Once you become the family provider, those expectations rarely decrease. Family members become accustomed to certain lifestyles, and new needs continuously emerge. The financial support that seemed manageable during peak earning years becomes impossible to sustain after retirement, but the expectations remain. The psychological barrier to saying no is further complicated by survivor's guilt. Many athletes who escape poverty through their talents struggle with feelings of unworthiness. Why should they enjoy wealth while those they love continue to struggle? This emotional burden makes establishing financial boundaries seem morally wrong. Setting those boundaries isn't about selfishness, it's about sustainability. For NFL players, creating structured giving programs, rather than responding to every request, can maintain family support while protecting their financial future. Some establish foundations with clear guidelines for family assistance. Others designate specific amounts for family support separate from their personal finances. One effective strategy employed by financially savvy athletes is creating legitimate employment opportunities rather than handouts. Hiring family members for real jobs provides income while maintaining dignity. The key is ensuring these are legitimate positions with actual responsibilities, not just titles with paychecks. Another approach is investing in education and skills rather than just giving money. Paying for college or vocational training creates lasting value and self-sufficiency, unlike direct cash support that can create dependency. This transforms a temporary financial gift into a permanent boost in earning potential. Perhaps most importantly, successful athletes learn to have honest conversations about financial realities. They explain the true length of their earning window, the significant taxes that reduce their take-home pay, and their responsibility to secure their own future. This transparency helps manage expectations when certain requests must be declined. The most difficult but necessary step is learning to say no without guilt. This doesn't mean abandoning family obligations, but rather establishing sustainable boundaries that protect both relationships and finances. As counterintuitive as it seems, setting financial limits can actually preserve. Blind spot number 4, financial illiteracy, the knowledge gap that costs millions. The knowledge gap staring back at many NFL players is far more intimidating than any opponent they'll face on the field. Imagine stepping out of a college dorm room where you've never managed more than a few $100 into a world where you're suddenly handed millions. No financial training, no money management experience, just a massive check and a world of people eager to help you spend it. Many NFL players come from backgrounds where financial literacy wasn't part of their upbringing. When you've never learned how a tax bracket works or what compound interest means, that $10 million contract might as well be written in another language. The only number you see is the big one at the bottom. Not understanding that Uncle Sam will take a huge chunk, your agent gets another piece, and those millions need to potentially last decades, not just a few years. For many players, their first real experience with banking is on draft day. It's like being thrown into the deep end of the ocean without ever having swimming lessons. You wouldn't hand the keys to a Formula One race car to someone who's never driven before, but we routinely give enormous sums to young athletes with zero financial training and then act shocked when they crash financially. Take former NFL star Vince Young. After signing a $58 million contract as the third overall pick in 2006, Young was bankrupt just 7 years later. Despite earning over $30 million in salary alone, his financial inexperience led to lavish spending, including reportedly dropping $5,000 weekly at Cheesecake Factory and once buying every seat on a commercial flight just for privacy. His story illustrates perfectly how fast millions can vanish without proper financial knowledge. The NFL has recognized this problem. The league and the Players Association have partnered with financial education organizations to provide players with workshops and counseling. These programs aim to give athletes the basic tools they need to navigate their financial futures. But for many, these programs arrive after they've already signed contracts and made major financial commitments. This knowledge gap extends beyond investment strategies to fundamental concepts. Players often don't understand basic tax withholding, leading to nasty surprises when tax season arrives. Planning your spending based on pre-tax salary, only to discover you owe hundreds of thousands in unexpected taxes, happens to athletes constantly. The rapid wealth accumulation that comes with an NFL contract creates a financial whirlwind that would challenge even someone with solid money knowledge. Studies consistently show a direct connection between financial knowledge and successful wealth building. Without that foundation, even multi-million-dollar contracts can evaporate. This problem affects most Americans too. Did your high school teach you how to build credit? Did you learn about tax-advantaged retirement accounts in college? Did anyone explain how mortgage interest works before you bought your first home? For most people, the answer is no. Our education system treats personal finance as optional rather than an essential life requirement. We spend hours teaching trigonometry, but skip budgeting basics that everyone needs every day of their adult life. When regular folks make financial mistakes due to knowledge gaps, they might lose thousands. When NFL players make the same errors, they lose millions. The root cause is identical: lack of basic financial education. This problem intensifies as income increases. A financial mistake on a $50,000 salary might set you back a few months. That same percentage error on a multi-million-dollar contract can be catastrophic. As your money grows, so does the complexity of managing it. Taxes get more complicated, investment options multiply, and the stakes for each decision skyrocket. Specific knowledge gaps include misunderstanding progressive tax brackets. Many players believe all their money is taxed at the highest rate. They don't realize only portions above certain thresholds get taxed at higher rates. Then there's time value of money. The idea that a dollar today is worth more than tomorrow because of its earning potential. Without this principle, players often take lump sum payments rather than structured payouts that would provide much more financial security long-term. Investment literacy is another critical gap. Many players can't differentiate between stocks and bonds or understand risk diversification. They struggle to evaluate investment opportunities or identify red flags in financial proposals. This makes them easy targets for unscrupulous advisors. The solution: financial education needs to start earlier. Basic money concepts should be taught alongside reading and math from elementary through high school. By adulthood, understanding money management should be as fundamental as reading. 4. NFL players without this foundation, intensive financial education is crucial throughout their careers. The financial decisions made in those first few years after signing often determine whether a player ends up comfortable for life or bankrupt after retirement. A solid financial education might actually be more valuable than getting a raise. Understanding proper investing, tax minimization, and avoiding costly financial mistakes could potentially add hundreds of thousands to your lifetime wealth. Knowledge truly is power when building lasting wealth. Blind spot number 5, the overconfidence effect, when success becomes your enemy. While financial literacy might be the foundation, there's another hidden enemy lurking in the psychology of successful athletes. One that can demolish even the most educated financial plan. Ever wonder why some of the smartest players, guys who actually did study finance, still end up broke? The same confidence that makes them legends on the field becomes their financial kryptonite off it. Think about what makes an NFL player successful. They have to believe with absolute certainty that they can outperform, outwork, and outlast their competition. This unwavering self-belief is essential on the field, but it's a disaster when applied to financial markets. That quarterback who's convinced he can thread a needle between 3 defenders? He's the same guy who thinks he can pick winning stocks better than Warren Buffett. This psychological trap has a name: the overconfidence bias. It's that voice in your head saying, "I got this," when you absolutely don't got this. For NFL players, this bias creates a perfect financial storm. They've succeeded at something incredibly difficult, making it to the NFL, which reinforces their belief that they can succeed at anything. When a player who dominated the combine and muscled his way into the NFL approaches an investment opportunity, he tackles it the same way he approaches the defensive line, believing he can power through any obstacle. Take Vince Young. His athletic talent was undeniable, but that same confidence led him to make disastrous financial choices. Despite earning millions, Young made investment decisions based on gut feelings rather than sound analysis, ignoring qualified financial advice because he trusted his own instincts. Jamarcus Russell's story proves equally cautionary. His overconfidence extended to believing his football career and income would continue indefinitely. This psychological blind spot prevented him from seeing the reality of his situation until it was too late, contributing to his financial collapse. When was the last time you thought you knew best, and it cost you? Have you ever gotten a promotion at work and immediately felt like a financial genius? Perhaps you started day trading on your lunch break, or decided to flip houses on the weekends with zero experience. That's the overconfidence effect, and it affects everyone, regardless of income. The software developer who created a successful app might believe they can now succeed at any business venture without research. The psychology mirrors what happens with athletes. Success in one domain creates an illusion of expertise in unrelated areas. Athletic success rewards optimism, immediacy, and confidence. Financial success requires caution, skepticism, and patience. Warren Buffett, one of history's most successful investors, is famous for his cautious approach and willingness to admit what he doesn't know. Most NFL stars are trained to do the exact opposite, to never show weakness or uncertainty. This trait mismatch creates danger. The mindset that propels athletes to greatness becomes the quicksand that swallows their millions. Their psychological wiring for on-field success directly conflicts with the profile of successful investors, who prioritize diversification, risk management, and seeking expert advice. The overconfidence effect distorts information processing. When a financial advisor suggests a conservative approach, the athlete hears this person doesn't believe in me. When market data contradicts their investment thesis, they double down instead of reconsidering. This reality distortion leads to ignoring obvious warning signs. You see similar patterns everywhere. The friend who got a big commission check and immediately opened a restaurant with zero experience, or the coworker who inherited money and suddenly became a real estate investor, buying properties sight unseen. They're experiencing the same psychological trap that bankrupts NFL millionaires. What makes overconfidence particularly dangerous is that it feels identical to competence. When under its influence, you genuinely believe you're making smart decisions. It doesn't feel like gambling. It feels like clarity and insight. That's why rational arguments or evidence rarely counter it effectively. This psychological blind spot causes people to disregard expert advice. Athletes who've succeeded against tremendous odds are especially vulnerable. After all, if everyone told them they couldn't make it to the NFL and they proved those doubters wrong, why wouldn't they also be right about an investment opportunity? Combating this bias starts with awareness. Recognizing that success in one area doesn't automatically translate to expertise in others. The most financially successful athletes understand the limits of their knowledge and seek help. Creating structured decision-making processes helps too. Instead of relying on instinct for financial choices, develop frameworks that force consideration of contrary evidence. Before making major financial decisions, ask yourself, what would need to be true for this to be a bad decision? Then actively look for that evidence. Professional investors maintain emotional detachment. They don't fall in love with investments or take market movements personally. This emotional distance often challenges athletes who've succeeded through passion and personal investment in outcomes. For both athletes and regular people, balancing confidence and caution is key. Confidence gets you in the game, but caution prevents losing everything on a single play. The most financially successful former athletes aren't those who abandoned their confident mindset entirely, but those who compartmentalized, keeping athletic confidence on the field while adopting measured approaches to financial decisions. The 50% rule, the simple strategy that changes everything. That flattery-fueled overconfidence has emptied more NFL bank accounts than we can count, but here's the million-dollar question. Could a single financial rule have protected them? When Detroit Lions player Glover Quinn implemented one straightforward strategy with his $33 million career earnings, he built lasting wealth while his peers went broke. Glover Quinn's approach was brilliantly simple. He lived on just 30% of his take-home pay and invested a whopping 70% in established, publicly traded companies. No risky restaurants. No sketchy real estate deals. No cryptocurrency gambles. Just disciplined saving and smart investing in proven businesses. While his teammates were blowing cash on mansions they'd eventually lose, Quinn was quietly building a financial fortress that would outlast his playing days. This is essentially a supercharged version of what financial experts call the 50% income rule, a strategy powerful enough to have prevented almost every NFL bankruptcy we've discussed. The concept is ridiculously simple. Live on half your income and save, or invest the other half. That's it. No complex formulas or fancy financial instruments required. For an NFL player earning $2 million annually, this means capping living expenses at $1 million per year. You can live an incredibly comfortable life on $1 million, luxurious home, nice cars, premium vacations, while still saving the other million. Over a typical 3-year NFL career, they'd bank $3 million plus investment returns, creating a substantial financial cushion for life after football. This principle works regardless of income level. Someone earning $60,000 a year who lives on $30,000 and invests the remaining $30,000 is following the exact same strategy as our NFL player. The dollar amounts differ dramatically, but the financial principle remains identical. Both are creating a buffer between what they earn and what they spend. The 50% rule addresses all 5 financial blind spots we've covered. It creates a hard ceiling on lifestyle inflation. You simply can't outspend your means when you've pre-committed half your income to savings and investments. Those designer clothes and luxury cars that bankrupt athletes? They'd have to fit within the spending half of the equation. It dramatically reduces the impact of bad investments. Even if someone convinces you to put money into their sketchy business venture, you'd only be risking a portion of your savings, not your entire fortune. When you've consistently saved half your income, one bad investment can't wipe you out completely. The rule helps manage family demands and social pressures. Having a clear system makes it easier to explain financial boundaries. I can help you with $20,000 for your business, but not $200,000 because I've committed to this financial plan becomes a much easier conversation with established money rules. The 50% rule works even without deep financial expertise. You don't need to understand complex investment strategies or tax codes to implement this approach. The simplicity makes it powerful. Anyone can divide a number by 2. Finally, it's the perfect antidote to overconfidence. By automatically protecting half your income from yourself, you're acknowledging that you might make mistakes, and ensuring those mistakes won't be catastrophic. What makes this rule transformative is how it creates separation between temporary income and permanent spending habits. When your lifestyle costs are tethered to just half your income, you've created a massive safety net. Financial independence isn't about how much you make, it's about the gap between what you make and what you spend. The wider this gap, the faster you reach true financial freedom. An NFL player making millions who spends everything is less financially free than someone making $60,000 who lives on $30,000 and invests the rest. The 50% rule addresses an uncomfortable truth. No paycheck is guaranteed. A 2018 analysis by ProPublica and the Urban Institute found that over half of older U.S. workers were pushed out of long-term jobs before they chose to retire. Whether you're making NFL millions or a corporate salary, income disruption can happen to anyone. The 50% rule creates the cushion that turns financial emergencies into mere inconveniences. I know some of you are thinking, but I can barely pay my bills now. How am I supposed to live on half my income? This is where we separate what's truly necessary from what we've convinced ourselves is necessary. Most people can reduce their expenses by examining what they actually need versus what they've grown accustomed to having. For someone making $60,000 annually, living on $30,000 might mean sharing housing costs, driving a reliable used car instead of leasing, cooking more meals at home, and being selective about subscriptions. These adjustments might feel restrictive at first, but they're nothing compared to the freedom from building real financial security. The 50% rule creates options in your life. When you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you gain the power to walk away from toxic work environments, take chances on opportunities, or handle unexpected expenses without financial ruin. A player who earned $10 million over their career while living on $5 million would have created a $5 million nest egg plus investment returns. Even with modest 7% annual returns, that could generate $350,000 per year in passive income. enough to maintain a comfortable lifestyle indefinitely. Income diversification. Never depend on one paycheck. Even with perfect budgeting, relying on a single source of income is like balancing your entire financial future on one wobbly leg. What if that NFL contract doesn't get renewed? What if your 9-to-5 job suddenly disappears? The athletes who built lasting wealth managed their money well and multiplied their income sources in ways you can actually copy. The difference between NFL players who maintain their wealth and those who go broke often comes down to one simple strategy: creating multiple streams of income. While many young athletes focus exclusively on their playing contracts, the financially savvy ones understand that depending on a single paycheck is a recipe for disaster, regardless of how many zeros that paycheck contains. Consider Magic Johnson, who transformed his basketball fame into a business empire worth over $1 billion. Long before his playing days ended, Johnson formed Magic Johnson Enterprises, which now spans everything from movie theaters to health clubs. He laid the groundwork while still dominating on the court. Similarly, Serena Williams built diverse business interests beyond her tennis career and launched her own venture capital firm. These ventures were calculated moves to ensure her financial independence would outlast her athletic prime. The contrast with financially troubled athletes is stark. Many bankrupt former pros made the critical mistake of treating their NFL salary as their only significant income source. When those game checks stopped coming, which they always do, often sooner than expected, they had nothing to fall back on. No rental properties generating monthly income. No businesses creating steady profits. No investments yielding regular returns. This principle of income diversification is actually more critical for average earners. If you lose your only income source, you're immediately in financial danger. But with multiple income streams, you create a safety net that prevents financial disaster. You don't need an NFL-sized salary to create multiple income streams. If you have a 9-to-5 job, that's your foundation, your playing contract. But like smart athletes, you can build additional income sources that protect you from financial collapse if that main source disappears. Income diversification gives you leverage in your main career. Walking into your boss's office, knowing you have other income sources to fall back on changes how you negotiate, how you perform, and how you handle workplace stress. The freedom to walk away from a bad situation is invaluable. For many average earners, income diversification starts small, perhaps a few $100s monthly from a side gig or investment. Over time, these additional streams can grow to rival or surpass your main income. It's the financial equivalent of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Here are practical ways anyone can develop secondary income streams. 1. Skills-based side hustles. The digital economy has made it easier than ever to monetize skills you already have. What do you know how to do that others might pay for? Teaching, tutoring, writing, editing, designing, coding, or consulting are accessible starting points. 2. Small business ventures. This might be as simple as selling handmade goods online, dropshipping products related to your interests, or creating digital products like courses or ebooks that generate passive income over time. 3. Investments. Stocks that pay dividends, bonds, or real estate can create income streams requiring minimal ongoing work. Even starting small with dividend-paying index funds builds towards significant passive income over time. 4. Gig economy opportunities. Driving for ride-sharing services, delivering food, renting out a spare room, or offering services through platforms like TaskRabbit provides flexible income that works around your main job's schedule. Today's digital economy has made income diversification remarkably accessible. Starting a side business now requires minimal capital and can reach potential customers worldwide. Social media provides free marketing channels. Online marketplaces offer built-in customer bases. Payment processing takes minutes to set up. Regular people with regular jobs are increasingly building income portfolios rather than relying on a single employer. A teacher might also run an Etsy shop and rent out a vacation property. An office worker might drive for a ride-sharing service on weekends and invest in dividend stocks. The key is starting small and building gradually. Use evenings and weekends to develop additional income sources until they're substantial enough to reduce your dependency on your main job. Unlike emergency funds that eventually run out, additional income streams can continue indefinitely, giving you time to recover or pivot to new opportunities without financial panic. Think of multiple income streams as financial insurance. When your income comes from multiple sources, you're protected against changes in any one area. If your employer downsizes, if your industry faces disruption, or if economic conditions change, you have other financial lifelines keeping you afloat. The goal isn't merely making more money, though that's certainly beneficial. The real aim is creating financial resilience that prevents the disaster. Financial education, the missing playbook. Financial resilience is only half the battle. What's the invisible playbook that 78% of NFL players never received? Think about it. These athletes mastered complex defensive schemes, but couldn't defend against the simplest money traps. The NFL now requires financial literacy training for rookies because they finally realized a brutal truth. Physical talent without financial knowledge is a direct path to bankruptcy. The league's financial education initiatives represent a major shift in professional sports, where organizations are acknowledging that throwing money at young athletes without equipping them with financial skills leads to disaster. The NFL Players Association has partnered with organizations like Financial Finesse to deliver comprehensive education programs, covering everything from basic budgeting to complex investment strategies. These mandatory training sessions recognize finance as a survival skill, essential for long-term success. What's truly eye-opening is that these financial literacy programs cover fundamental concepts that should be common knowledge. If multimillionaire athletes need training on basic budgeting, this highlights the financial education gap facing everyone else. Most of us navigate complex financial decisions with even less guidance than NFL players now receive. The Sports Financial Literacy Academy offers specialized courses for athletes that go beyond basic money management. Their approach treats financial knowledge as a critical life skill, transforming athletes into whole persons rather than just sports performers. This financial playbook becomes the foundation for life after the final whistle blows, determining whether success on the field translates to success in life. College athletics has recognized this critical need too. UTSA Athletics partnered with Locker Room Finance to give student athletes access to specialized financial education, including budgeting tools for semester-long financial plans. These resources are essential now that college athletes can earn through name, image, and likeness deals. Without proper financial education, these young athletes face complex financial decisions while balancing academics and sports. UC Berkeley offers a course specifically called Financial and Business Literacy for the Professional Athlete, covering everything from contract negotiation to selecting qualified financial advisors, critical knowledge that prevents financial disasters. With support from grants like the one from Robinhood Money Drills, more student athletes can access this crucial education before facing real-world financial pressures. The consequences of this knowledge gap can be devastating. Former NFL player Marques Ogden, who had a background in finance and maintained strict budgets, still faced financial ruin due to a single bad business decision. After bankruptcy, Ogden faced significant mental health challenges, another often overlooked consequence of financial failure. His recovery, supported by resources like the NFL Player Care Foundation, illustrates both the depth of these financial wounds and the importance of support systems. Mental health issues stemming from financial problems remain a hidden epidemic among former players. Many athletes hesitate to admit they're struggling until they've hit rock bottom. The connection between financial literacy, financial security, and mental health forms an interconnected triangle that determines quality of life long after the cheering stops. The core financial concepts everyone should understand include cash flow management, understanding exactly where your money comes from and goes, debt management, learning the difference between productive debt, like a mortgage, and destructive debt, high-interest consumer credit, investment fundamentals, understanding risk, diversification, and compound returns, tax planning, structuring finances to legally minimize tax burdens, and retirement planning, creating a realistic roadmap for financial security beyond your primary earning years. The NCAA's partnership with Invesco/Invesco QQQ created How to Not Suck at Money, a digital game teaching financial literacy to student athletes. This gamified approach recognizes that traditional financial education often fails because it's boring, not because it's difficult. Making these concepts engaging dramatically increases their adoption. Financial education compounds over time, like interest on investments. Small financial lessons, consistently applied, create massive results decades later. Understanding compound interest can translate to hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional wealth over a lifetime. The earlier these lessons are learned, the more powerful their effects become. Resources for building financial knowledge have never been more accessible. Free courses from platforms like Khan Academy, Coursera, and edX cover everything from basic budgeting to advanced investing. Financial literacy apps like Mint, Inab, and Personal Capital combine education with practical tools. However, resources alone aren't enough. Consistency is key. The most successful approach combines ongoing education with immediate application. Learn a concept, implement it, then build on that foundation. This progressive approach prevents overwhelm while creating real-world impact. The payoff from financial education isn't just avoiding mistakes. It's spotting opportunities invisible to the financially illiterate. When you understand how money works, you see potential where others see only problems. This advantage compounds over decades, creating an ever-widening gap between the financially educated and the financially unaware. This knowledge gap explains why some NFL players maintain and grow their wealth despite short careers, while others with identical earning potential file for bankruptcy. It's rarely about how much money they made. It's about what they knew about managing it. The cautionary tale, from $39 million to mom's basement. That knowledge gap doesn't just create different outcomes, it creates different lives. Ever wonder how someone can go from having $61 million in the bank to sleeping in their childhood bedroom? Jamarcus Russell's journey from NFL #1 draft pick to financial rock bottom shows what happens when all 5 financial blind spots collide at once. Back in 2007, Russell was on top of the world. The Oakland Raiders selected him first overall in the NFL draft and handed him a 6-year contract worth $61 million with $31.5 million guaranteed. This massive payday should have set him up for life. Instead, it became the first chapter in a cautionary tale about how quickly millions can disappear. Russell's financial collapse was remarkably swift. Lifestyle inflation struck immediately after signing his contract. He purchased multiple luxury properties, an extravagant home in a gated Oakland community, and another large property in Louisiana. Each property brought massive mortgages, taxes, maintenance costs, and utility bills. He filled his garages with luxury vehicles and his closets with designer clothes and jewelry. He lived like a veteran quarterback with multiple contract extensions, rather than a rookie facing an uncertain future. His investment decisions accelerated his downfall. Instead of hiring qualified financial professionals, Russell relied on unqualified people in his inner circle to manage millions. These advisors steered him into risky ventures that drained his wealth. He never distinguished between having a friend who's good with money and employing a certified financial advisor with fiduciary responsibility. This lack of due diligence proved catastrophic. The family tax presented emotional complications. Russell supported an extensive entourage of family members and friends. He couldn't refuse those closest to him after achieving such financial success. This generosity created an enormous drain as he paid for houses, cars, bills, and vacations for numerous individuals. What began as generosity transformed into a financial burden. Despite his business management degree from LSU, Russell demonstrated profound financial illiteracy. He failed to understand permanent income, that his $61 million contract represented earnings for potentially decades, not just a few years. He spent as if money would never stop flowing, not recognizing his NFL career could end suddenly, which it did after 3 seasons with the Raiders. Without a sustainable financial plan or understanding of tax implications, he made decisions based on impulse rather than strategy. Russell's status as the #1 overall pick fostered dangerous overconfidence. He believed his career would span many years with multiple lucrative contracts, ignoring warning signs about his spending and investment choices. When coaches and veterans offered advice, Russell dismissed it, convinced he knew better. By 2011, just 4 years after being drafted, Russell was out of the NFL. By 2012, his mansions faced foreclosure. In 2013, he returned to his mother's home in Mobile, Alabama. In less time than earning a college degree, Russell went from a $61 million contract to moving back with his mom. Russell's story mirrors other athletes like Terrell Owens, who earned over $80 million, yet filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Both fell victim to bad investments, excessive spending, and supporting too many people. But not all NFL players follow this path. Marshawn Lynch maintained remarkable financial discipline, saving most of his NFL salary while living off endorsement income. This approach prioritized long-term security over immediate gratification, helping Lynch maintain stability after his playing career ended. These stories apply directly to non-athletes. When you get a raise and immediately upgrade your apartment, you're experiencing lifestyle inflation like Russell did with his mansions. When you trust an unresearched investment, you're making the same mistake Russell made with unqualified advisors. When you always pick up the tab for friends, you're facing your version of the family tax. The key insight isn't avoiding all financial mistakes. That's impossible. The difference between Russell and Lynch wasn't that Lynch never made mistakes. Lynch had systems to minimize their impact. He understood his permanent income, avoided lifestyle inflation, sought qualified advice, set boundaries with family and friends, educated himself about finances, and maintained realistic future expectations. Financial success requires guardrails that prevent small mistakes from becoming catastrophic. It demands decisions aligned with long-term goals rather than immediate desires. Russell's dramatic fall from financial heights demonstrates universal lessons that apply to everyone's financial journey, regardless of income level or profession. By recognizing these blind spots in your own finances, you can avoid the path that led Russell from the pinnacle of success to his childhood bedroom in just a few short years. The one habit that changes everything: conscious spending. While the 50% rule creates a buffer between your income and expenses, there's one habit that separates those who build wealth from those who struggle financially. Regardless of whether you're making $30,000 a year or $30 million in the NFL, it's not about how much you earn, but about the conscious decisions you make before spending a single dollar. Conscious spending is exactly what it sounds like, deliberately deciding where every dollar goes before you spend it. It's the opposite of what most people do, which is unconscious spending. Getting paid, paying some bills, spending freely, then wondering where all the money went. This approach forces you to take control of your financial life, instead of letting your impulses run the show. Think of it this way. NFL players who go broke usually let their money flow out unconsciously. A new car here, a night out there, helping family members without limits. Meanwhile, financially successful athletes like Marshawn Lynch implement conscious spending habits, deliberately deciding where each dollar belongs before it ever hits their account. The key difference is intention. Conscious spending means aligning your money with what truly matters to you instead of whatever catches your eye in the moment. Want that fancy dinner? Great. Just make it a deliberate choice rather than an impulse that throws off your entire financial plan. For example, you might consciously decide to spend more on travel because you value experiences, while intentionally spending less on clothing or subscriptions you rarely use. The point is making sure your spending reflects your actual priorities. So how do you implement conscious spending in real life? Several practical tools can transform this concept from theory into daily practice. Budgeting apps create awareness of where your money's going, allowing you to categorize spending and set limits before you swipe your card. The envelope system takes this further by physically allocating cash to specific spending categories. When the entertainment envelope is empty, you're done spending in that category until next month. Automated savings ensures money moves to savings or investment accounts before you have a chance to spend it. By automating these transfers on payday, you're consciously prioritizing your financial future. Regular spending reviews help you evaluate patterns and make adjustments before small leaks sink your financial ship. What makes conscious spending so powerful is that it addresses all 5 financial blind spots we've discussed. It limits lifestyle inflation because you're deciding in advance how much lifestyle upgrade is appropriate. It reduces poor investments since you're allocating specific amounts rather than jumping at every opportunity. It helps manage family demands by establishing clear boundaries around giving. Perhaps most importantly, conscious spending works without requiring deep financial expertise. You don't need to understand complex investment vehicles to decide where your money should go before spending it. And it counters overconfidence by forcing you to consider trade-offs. Every dollar you spend on one thing is a dollar you can't spend elsewhere. Conscious spending creates a buffer between temporary income and permanent spending habits. This buffer protects you when income inevitably fluctuates. whether that's an NFL player transitioning to retirement or you dealing with a job loss. Starting is simpler than you might think. Begin by tracking everything you spend for 1 week, without judgment. Just observe where your money actually goes versus where you think it goes. Most people are shocked by the difference. Next, create spending categories based on your values, not someone else's budget template. Your categories should reflect what matters to you. Once you've established categories, assign specific amounts to each one before your next paycheck arrives. This is your spending plan, not a restrictive budget, but a plan for using your money intentionally. Finally, implement one of the tools we discussed to maintain awareness. Take Sarah, a teacher making $45,000 annually, who implemented conscious spending after realizing she had no savings despite her steady income. By tracking her spending for just 1 week, she discovered she was spending over $300 monthly on subscription services she barely used. After canceling most of them and redirecting that money to an automated investment account, she built her first $10,000 in savings within a year, something she previously thought impossible on her salary. The psychological freedom from conscious spending extends beyond financial benefits. The stress of uncertainty disappears when you've already decided how to handle your money before desires and demands come knocking. This approach allows you to spend without guilt on things you truly value because you've made room for them in your plan. For NFL players, conscious spending could save millions. A player making $5 million who consciously decides to live on $1 million annually would accumulate $20 million over a 5-year career, creating financial security regardless of what happens after retirement. For the average person, the principle works exactly the same way, just with different numbers. Whether you're dealing with $1 million contract or a modest paycheck, conscious spending forces you to face reality before spending, not after. It creates awareness of the gap between temporary and permanent income, allowing you to make adjustments before problems arise rather than after they've already caused damage. So here's the truth behind financial success. It's not about the size of your paycheck. While we've seen NFL players crash and burn despite earning millions, the principles that would have saved them work just as well for you and me. Financial victory requires understanding your consistent income, living below your means with the 50% rule, creating multiple income streams, educating yourself about money management, and being intentional with spending. Start today by tracking every penny for just 1 week. This simple habit separates those who build lasting wealth from those wondering where their money